Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah, and welcome to our first international property briefing. It's carried out in conjunction with Windmill Valuation Services in Dubai. We are lucky to have Mr. Bilal Moti, who is the chairman and CEO of Windmills Valuation Services from Dubai, and he's been in business for 30 years in various capacity, and he's very experienced in property and business valuations in Dubai. Today, and our session will last for about an hour and or thereabouts, and possibly a bit more if there are questions posed by the viewers, and we will try to answer as best as we could. And by the way, let's welcome Mr. Bilal Moti. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Irhami. And thank you once again to you, IQI, for making such a wonderful arrangement for me to share my whatever little wisdom and knowledge that I have. So it's a great opportunity for me too. I'm very fine. And how are you, Mr. Irhami?
Alhamdulillah, I'm okay. I'm still alive and kicking, and we look forward to the post-pandemic in this country. I don't know whether it will have another round of lockdown like in your country. In Holland, I heard there's been another issues on the infections and what have you. Have you heard about it?
Yes, I have. I'm hearing that the situation in Europe in general and also in the Netherlands specifically, things are again picking up in terms of the virus impact in one form or the other, unfortunately. And I'm hearing about the lockdowns as well. So yeah, unfortunate situation. In this part of the world, in the UAE, I think we feel that now we are completely out of it. The only
Yeah.
remainder of coronavirus is now the masks. That's it. Apart from that, I think now we don't really feel it anymore.
Yeah.
So lucky and blessed. But I hope in the whole world and pray that we get out of it as soon as possible, because enough is enough.
Yes, I said 2 years. It's coming to 2 years now, isn't it? So
Yep.
fast.
Yep.
So, with that, ladies and gentlemen,
Mhm.
friends and colleagues, I will leave the session with our partner in UAE, in Dubai, Mr. Bilal Moti. Please take over. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ham, again, and thank you, IQI, once again for giving me this privilege to speak and represent the Middle East. Really appreciate it. Um, this is the first international property overview show, Mr. Irhami. I heard from you, so I'm feeling even more honored. What we will do is that we will do a kind of a discussion for about an hour. And I will just shortly tell you what is the coverage. And during the course of this discussion, everyone is very welcome to write their comments and questions in the chat box, and as I will try to take them intermittently during the session or after the session. So that will be my pleasure too. So I must say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because people are from everywhere in the world. And
Everywhere.
thank you, participants, for joining as well and taking the time. Shall we go to the presentation?
Yes, go ahead.
Yep. Just give
Remember,
me.
last time we had even viewers from Mongolia.
Wow, I'm very impressed. Okay, so can everybody see my slide already?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll finally and eventually focus on the real estate market overview. Since a number of participants may not be fully aware of what the Middle East is all about, I will touch upon some introduction of the Middle East in the beginning, and we will also discuss something about the international valuation standards. We talk about Red Book, RICS, major directions. We will talk about GCC on a macro level. We will talk about the intricacies of UAE from economic and social and business perspective. And finally, we land into the UAE real estate market overview. In today's presentation, we will touch upon such things only as an introduction and at a kind of intermediary level. In the next speaking series, I think we may go on an advanced level and deeper into the various facets of real estate markets in the Middle East. A little bit about myself. My name is Bilal Moti. I'm the owner and the CEO of Windmills Valuation Services, which is established in the UAE and more specifically in Dubai and Ajman. I have been having a banking experience for many years in certain part of Asia, in the Netherlands, in the UK, and Middle East. My areas of banking have been largely all three business banking, like corporate, retail, investment banking. And I've also been involved and engaged into a number of other functions like brokerage and valuations and overall management in these regions. Few degrees, few awards on the corporate level and on the personal level. So that's my quick introduction. I've been into the valuation business for the last 10 years, first in Qatar and then now over the last 5+ years based in the UAE and covering the UAE market from the valuation perspective and advisory perspective, and also GCC to some extent. Okay, so this is going to be the coverage we are gonna attend to this afternoon. Let me just give you a brief overview of what Windmills is all about in the next 5 minutes, so you can basically think and relate this into perspectives. The group Windmills has two broad businesses, in fact, three broad businesses. One is valuations, one is advisory, and the third, through a separate company called Windmills International Real Estate, our brokerage company, which covers sales, leasing, and property supervision. The two companies, because of the conflict of interest, are operating at a pure arm's length basis. What is Windmills from the valuation company perspective? Today, with the grace of Almighty, we are now one of the leading valuation firms in the UAE. What makes us leading are our key achievements and credentials, like we are impaneled with most of the banks in the country. We have received quite a number of national awards. We have done a pretty diversified range of properties as valuations. We do also have certain competitive propositions which add value to our clients' business. Our size of organization and our international valuation standards that we follow. But I will touch upon, these are the tangents which makes us one of the leading firms, but let's talk about it very quickly and briefly going forward. So what are we engaged in? We are primarily engaged into valuation business, and we do value residential, commercial, industrial, and business properties. Residential and commercial must be definitely clear to all. For some people who may be wondering what is industrial valuation, trading properties valuations. By industrial valuation, I mean the valuation of industrial properties like warehouses, labor camps, and the certain kind of lands like this being agricultural land and farmlands. We value them as well. And the trading properties means the properties like the business-like properties on a certain land of real estate, and that are hotels, malls, schools, hospitals, etc. And we have valued many of them too. Besides the real estate interests of the properties, we also value machinery and equipment valuation. We value companies. We value automobiles and all kinds of vehicles, whether they're industrial or passenger. And we provide advisory services. So that's basically the range of core services that we provide. This country, UAE, has given us a lot of reciprocity in terms of support and acknowledgement. So under the patronage of Dubai Economic Department and Dubai Land Department, we have received several awards. From Abu Dhabi, we have been registered with them as an in-country value certification. And we are also an ISO certified company on intentions of customer service, quality of service, compliance, etc., etc. A little snapshot of what kind of clients we have. As I said, we are in panel with most of the banks, so all the flagship banks of the country are our clients, like this. And besides that, we operate very successfully as a service provider among other financial institutions as clients. And again, all the top insurance firms, the REIT firms, our finance firms, holding companies are also our clients. Our range of corporate clients is no less. We are an active valuation firm providing services to many government institutions, family groups, property management firms, audit firms, and the large corporate names in the country. Yeah, one of the achievements that makes us very, very happy is our providing the international valuation solutions to our clients in the Middle Eastern market through our very experienced and carefully selected partners across 13 countries. So Windmills is now a global valuation services provider, and I'm very, very happy that my brother Irhami and his company is our partner.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Irhami. And you were the first ones, and you were definitely our motivation to grow international. Thank you very much for that. So we are able to provide valuation services in India, Pakistan, South Africa, Australia, Malaysia, etc., in Europe as well, which makes us very, very happy. We have now a size of 25 people working in the valuation firm, which is a sizable firm from only valuation perspective, and then some people on the advisory side. We as a company of valuers our valuers have quite an international experience in many countries in the world, and they are using those experiences in the Middle Eastern market. We have done more than 6,000 properties already in the last few years, despite the fact that it has been low and slow market, in more than 60 towns across all 7 Emirates in the UAE. And we're talking about more than $10 billion worth of market value that has already been done. So great achievement by the team. Towards the end, of course, one of the questions which always come up in each and every speaking session and from our clients as well, as to what do you do differently than other companies, and this was our initial painting on the canvas scale. We have to do things differently, better, deeper, more customer satisfying than the other valuation firms, and these are some of the highlights. I'll just pick the first one, that we tried our level best, and we're very successful in doing so, to make our valuations as scientific as possible, which means that we try to eliminate the art factor in the valuation as much as possible and focus more on the science factor, by coming up with a weighted average rating based model applied on each and every attribute of the property and the comparable properties. So the numbers talk to each other and come up with the resultant financial adjustments. We are almost there to be as perfect as we want to be, but with a 95% confidence level. We are very precise about our valuation. So it's based on 3 data sets. that we use, which are, say, for example, applying the market approach, whereby the property is valued through comparable properties. So we take the 3 data sets out there, like the previous valuations that we have done recently, the sold transactions in the market recently, and also the recent market listings for available for sale properties. We have a large database that we use and which is updated on a daily basis. Again, categorized into weighted average rating for each and every data set. And then we let our system called Maxima talk and come up with the valuation proposal automatically, and then which is seen by our reviewer and then approver. So that makes us a highly scientific valuer and very successful in the market. I wouldn't go more into details about other propositions because the time is short, but we'll be very happy to share this presentation with everyone, so you can take some time and read more about everything. Okay. So that's a brief introduction about Windmills. Mr. Irhami, participants, any questions, any comments so far, or should we go to category 2?
No, you go ahead. I will reserve that for a bit later.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about the phase 2 of the coverage, which is international valuation standards. I am not sure how many of you are valuers or agents, but in each and every transaction leg of where the real estate is involved, I think it's very important to know about valuations, even briefly. Very, very important, because valuation is a professional opinion by book. But as I said, it's a professional advice for you to engage into a transaction or not.
Yes.
And if yes, to how and to what level, and of course it also provides a very, very deep level of transparency into the property that you are getting engaged into, as a buyer, as a seller, as a lender, as a borrower, as an investor, as an insurance company, as a lawyer, as whatever, in many capacities. It's extremely important to understand the major principles of valuations. Being a real estate professional or a player. Now, I wouldn't go too much in details because I understand this is not a valuation discussion or session. It's more of a generic real estate session. But let's have a slice of that knowledge into our pocket. Yeah.
We can have that session in at another time. If you want to do some detailed valuations.
Yeah. Just to add a little bit of information about this. So the international council that prepares the international valuation standard is called IVSC, and they focus on defining and promoting certain valuation principles, standards, regulations around the world. RICS is one of the organizations, a very prestigious organizations that covers a large part of the world in terms of promoting and governing those standards prepared by International Valuation Standard Committee. And they focus on, and they come up with a very organized and structural guidelines through a Bible called Red Book, whereby the professional standards, the technical standards, the performance standards, and certain valuation practice guidelines are booked. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but it's called Red Book, and whoever wants to know more about the valuations, go to RICS website, download the book, and it's very, very useful, not only for the valuers, but also through quite a number of stakeholders engaged into the valuation, into the real estate business. The professional standard talk about certain areas like international valuation standards in general, but also performance measurements and the measurement standards, the different laws and regulations in different jurisdictions, the departures from the standards, how to deal with them, and certain monitoring subjects. And the PS2, the professional standards, do talk about ethics, competency, objectivity, and disclosures that have to be taken into account in a valuation process. The second part was the valuation performance standards, whereby technical standards are taken into account. And again, this broadly defines the different steps in the process, which are to be taken into account while doing a professional and a prudent valuation. The properties are in general valued based on the market approach, which is a sales comparison approach, or the income approach for the properties that are income generating in nature, or the cost approach for those properties that are doesn't have secondary market, whereby comparables could be taken from the sales market. Okay, so, and lastly, of course, there are some very important guidelines based on the type of properties as to how you value them, and the type of markets too. That's worth reading. So that was something about a quick introduction about valuation standards. The major takeaway is get hold of the red book and learn all about it. As Mr. Irhami said, we will not go too much in detail for now on that subject, because we can have a detailed valuation series in the coming weeks and months. But for now, I think that's sufficient. Do you agree with me, Mr. Irhami?
Yes, absolutely, because it takes a session just to go into details on the red book or any other standards publications.
Yeah. Thank you. And once again, a piece of advice for all the professionals and investors and the lenders in this market, real estate market, internationally and globally, anywhere. Please do not underestimate the power of the valuation advice that is coming out of professionals, because it is like valuers carrying a candle and leading you in a dark pathway. At times, because when you buy a property or sell a property, you will have many opinions, and each opinion is respectable. But in my humble opinion, don't forget to take the valuation opinion as well, because that would most likely make you a very prudent investment. Okay, now GCC.
Interesting place.
It's a very interesting place. Now, especially for many reasons. One, the weather is getting better and better in across the Middle East, and in the UAE, we are talking about during the day about 30 to 35 degrees centigrade, and in the evening, a 5 to 10% drop.
Wow.
So it's really beautiful, and we living in the UAE are very excited when this season starts, because then all the barbecue sessions, driving around, going to the mountains, going to the sea start, and all the friends get together. So I'm also very excited.
When I met you, then I took a journey to Oman.
Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic place as well.
Yeah. Well, GCC is, to be very honest, has been historically an under-promoted market in the world. It is so complete from location point of view, from the nature point of view. Beaches, mountains, a lot of greenery in the north of Oman. Internationalism is beautiful because can you imagine, in like Singapore, to quite an extent, there are about 225 nationalities living in the UAE. I mean, when I read that figure, I was thinking whether there are 225 countries in the world or not, but of course it's more. So it's so beautiful to make friendship with people coming from different ethnical background, religious backgrounds, different colors, different cultures. It's so beautiful to interact with them
The diversity is something else in UAE.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. And I felt that when I was in Singapore as well, and to quite an extent a few times. But this is just beautiful, and I love it. So and now the most important highlight of the region is, and especially UAE, is the Expo. The Expo 2020 finally happened after a year's delay, and it is going so successful. There's so much of local and international visitors going there and learning about this world. Practically, it's an amazing experience, I must say that. Okay, enough of the personal feelings. Let's go back to the realities and academics.
Wow.
People who don't know what is GCC. GCC means Gulf Cooperation Council. Basically, it's a federation of 6 countries who are very similar to each other for many respects. And those are Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain. And this is their geographical layout. Saudi Arabia is the largest in terms of geography, and Oman is the second largest in terms of geography. Saudi Arabia is the largest in terms of economic productivity, and UAE is the second largest, and the Qatar is the third largest, and then the fourth is Kuwait. So that's how the country's order is. A beautiful federation. A lot of similarities, a lot of business going on among the 6 countries, and it's one large, happy, and a growing region, I must say. So, what are the latest trends of GCC? What's happening out here? The easiest way of defining the region is that it's a high growth region, high growth development and diversification region. The fiscal surpluses are continuously getting more and more positive. To my surprise, I learned that the per capita income in this part of the world is quite at par with the same of G10 nations. Just to remind the participants that the major production, the major business in this country is oil and gas. In this region is oil and gas, and almost all the countries produce a high volume of oil and gas. Just to understand this better, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait are those countries which are focused on oil production to a very large extent. Qatar is more focused towards gas production, and Oman has also a little slice to the GDP contribution from the oil perspective. I think Bahrain is the only country which has no production of oil, but again, in coordination with Saudi Arabia, there are some places whereby Bahrain is also producing certain volume of oil. So it's predominantly, historically, has been a oil and gas region, and they're continuing that. There was some impact from the COVID, as well as the demand and supply, whereby the oil prices went down sharply in the last 2 to 3 years. But now, thankfully, it has come back, and we will discuss that later. So the latest trend in the GCC is economic diversification. The leaders in this region are very clear that we have to produce more services, more industries, more sectors in order to diversify the revenues and the economic base of the region. And let's take the example of Saudi Arabia and UAE. They are the most diversified countries in the region, and they have diversified into trading, aviation, tourism, manufacturing, financial services, real estate, free zones, and many other such sectors which have made the economies of countries quite balanced.
Yeah.
And not only are they diversified in terms of sectors and industries, but there are some sectors and some sectors where these economies are actually providing excellence on the global level. Think about aviation, think about trading, think about tourism. Honestly, financial services. I mean, there are a few banks in this region which are now in the global leadership league in terms of having so many international exposure. The real estate sector is phenomenal at this point in time. If I look at the buildings around, and I say, "Wow, what a model! What an architecture! What a growth!" And so I think the region has achieved quite a level of excellence in certain areas as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see, Mr. Bilal Moti, the sector like agriculture is also being focused now, especially in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
Reduction of animal husbandry, agriculture, and fishery too.
absolutely. I think the idea is to make under the Vision 2030. The region's idea is that by that date we should have a full circle economy with excellence. And I think the region is very much on the track for that.
Yeah.
Yes, COVID and the global situation have impacted the region's GDP to be contracted last year by 4.8%, but we are expecting a rebound this year already, whereby you see everybody is getting out after the COVID's impact, and now going out and doing business and having more holidays and etc. And once again, the GDP is expected to be strengthened massively by the high oil prices now, which have almost doubled over the last 1 year. Yeah, sorry.
It's like the biggest correction in our lifetime as well, in the history of the world, where it went down sharply,
Yeah,
and then back up like a V in the last few months.
yeah, absolutely. I think this event, if I may call it in a positive word, of coronavirus impact, I think is we don't want to see it again, of course. This is one of the lifetimes experiences that we have, to be very honest, and I'm very glad that it's about to be over. So recovery, U-shaped recovery, I think, is expected in a year or two, and there are many initiatives taken by the governments here, especially UAE, where to strengthen the economies phenomenally. And one of them was also the 5% VAT introduction in 2018. We are still very blessed and privileged to live in a world where there is no income tax. There is no income tax on the personal level. There is no income tax on the corporate level. So we are really, really blessed, and a first class, really super infrastructure is provided to us by the government in this country, and much more support through various means and ways to the businesses, to the people, etc., etc. So we are honestly speaking living in a blessed geography.
You don't actually pay tax.
Sorry?
You don't pay tax. Is that what you said?
No, we don't. We don't.
Oh.
The only tax we pay is 5% on VAT, which is the value-added tax on the things that we buy. So, and also that's on the personal level. I think even if you buy something on the corporate level, there are two different directions whether you have to pay or not. So, I can't hear you. Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Hami, I could not hear what you said.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
like G25 have been trying to peg the income tax, corporate income tax at 15%.
Yeah.
Now you're saying in Dubai there is no tax.
In the UAE, in Saudi Arabia, in the whole region, there is
Or
no
the GCC, I mean.
the whole GCC has no income tax on corporate level or in personal level. So what you earn is what you keep it in your pocket. And yes, there has been inflation in the market for some time now, but again, that's at a very controlled level. So that's one of the huge attractions of GCC, and we'll talk more about this a little bit later as to why I like this market very much. What I'm particularly touched positively is by the developments that are happening in the regulation sector. I mean, the region has learned a lot of tough lessons through the global financial crisis in 2008 and 9, and also some disturbances between 2015 and then finally COVID. So the leadership has in this part of the world has been very active in understanding the situation of the region and the world, and come up with those regulations that are welcoming investors, businessmen, professionals, artists, and all the specialists of the world to the Middle East. And as we discussed, one of the attractions is the no income tax structure, but also now granting citizenship, though selectively, to the most value adding people to the country. The 5 and 10-year visas are pretty common now in the Middle East, not only for residences, but now also for the tourism. Like, we used to take in the past, or most of us still do that. If you want to go to the US, or Europe, you always would love to have a 5-year visa or 10-year visa. So
that's a privilege, absolutely.
It's a privilege. And when you want to go to some other country and they say, "Oh, you have a US visa for 5 years," no problem, go ahead. Those beautiful little happiness is true in UAE now. You can also have a 5-year tourist visa. There are visas for retirees. There are visas for many. The idea is to bring in value addition, and it could be strategic, it could be financial, or both.
Correct.
Once again, a huge, I would say, a landscape change in the way we do business here in the UAE was no sponsor required anymore. So I think 90%, if I'm not incorrect, 90% of the businesses in the UAE do not require sponsors anymore. So you come here, you run your own business as a freehold company owned 100% by you. This is a huge milestone over 70, 80 years now. So so these are the trends that are happening. The economies are getting more open and welcoming. Perspective of size, total population in GCC is about 60 million, and where Saudi Arabia is roughly the half, 35 million, and then dominated by also UAE, where we're talking about 10 million people living here, counting and growing. GDP growth was literally slashed last year because of the COVID situation, and also early this year. But now we're talking about GCC expected to grow by about 2.5%, and UAE is expected to grow by 3.1% this year. And of course, the trend is going to continue, or likely to continue, in the coming future. Saudi Arabia, being the largest economy, contributes about $700 billion in the GDP, and the UAE almost more than the half, $360 billion.
That's commendable for UAE, where the population of of the city, the people. It's just
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's only 20%. No,
yeah,
25%.
yeah,
And yeah, no, they're doing a fantastic job. I mean, UAE, I think, is the
absolutely,
fastest growing and developing markets in the region, undoubtedly.
absolutely.
Okay, once again, still about 30 to 50% of the contribution to the GDP is coming from the oil and gas sectors on the average basis in this region on a country level. Oil prices play a dominant role, and you see a very interesting graph.
Wow,
Low,
yeah,
then high over a few years, and then low again, the lowest again, and then going high again. Um,
yes,
this makes quite a difference. Oil is like the blood to the economies here in the region, and if your blood is healthy, the economy is healthy. Now we're talking about a Brent level being at $80 plus, which is an
yep,
excellent news for the region. A lot of analysts may be in this session. So just to let you know that on the average is a AA minus composite level credit rating region.
yeah,
Very good in my humble opinion.
yeah.
I remember Dubai on a lighter note. I remember Dubai 40 years ago when I came here for the first time, and I sound like an aged man. 40 years ago when I came to Dubai,
It was like you know, it's a fishing village of sorts.
something like that. You stole the words from my mouth, Mr. Irhami. It was a village 40 years ago, really a village. And if I
Really a
look at
village, yes.
Dubai, if I look at Dubai now, with due respect, I think there are only few economies or few infrastructures like this in the world. Really few, and this is definitely at the highest league. I mean, what you
Yeah.
see in Singapore and Hong Kong and Kuala Lumpur, maybe, I think Dubai has done exactly the same and growing beautifully.
Where the western countries, say for example, we take England, they have taken about 200 years to come where they are now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Dubai
that's
took 20 years.
yeah. In 40 years' time, they've transformed it into one of the best cities in the world. So I welcome everyone to visit. Okay, so 40 plus minutes fast by. Let's go a little bit fast. I'm not going to go into the discussions of the numbers, but people who are deeper in the analysis are very welcome to take it from my presentations later. So this is the overall of the economies per country. Summary, and this is per country. So you may take it and review it. Let's talk about my favorite country. One of my favorite countries in the world, and that is United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates is a golden collection of 7 Emirates: Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Ajman, Ras Al Khaimah, Al Quwain. A beautiful collection. And Abu Dhabi is the largest emirate in the country, followed by Dubai and then Sharjah and respective. So the northern areas are very beautiful, mountainous range. My favorite place. I love going to Al Khaimah and spend staycation with my family there, and beautiful time. Abu Dhabi, again, if you look at the map, the whole country is surrounded by sea, Arabian Sea, and it's really, really beautiful. UAE, I think UAE is one country that has managed COVID situation the best in the region. Series of proactive regulations, control, and we are, I think, out of it. We see the results now. So salute to the leadership, the medical officials, the hospitals. They've done a fantastic job. We got the vaccinations free, whether you want to go for Chinese vaccinations or you want to go for Pfizer vaccination. It has been given to each and every citizen and resident free of cost in this country. There are a lot of hospitals which are providing free services to the COVID patients, and the kind of medical facilities provided to everybody here, whether citizens or residents, is extraordinary, really. So we are
a great leadership to do this. It's all about leadership, isn't it, of a country?
I agree with you. I mean, we all have exposure to a number of countries in the world, but this is completely remarkable. UAE is one. I'm over speaking about UAE. Apologies for that, but it's coming right from my heart. Look, I've never seen a country which ambitiously announces hundreds of projects at the same time.
Yeah.
Has the ability to complete them with the best of the quality and timing, and show it to the world. I mean, I've never seen this. Yeah, so impeccable arrangement here. So we talked about the economic performance. I think we are I would like to believe we're out of COVID situation, and the economy is growing. I see a lot of travelers coming in here, visitors, businessmen coming here from all over the world. And GDP was on the rise. Inflation is, I think, very well controlled, and in fact went negative over the last 1 year because the rents of the properties has fallen down significantly. Sure. Now, there's a perspective. Historically, the rents in this part of the world have been quite high. We were talking about historically the average of 7 to 8% gross rental income.
Wow,
which made it a very good investment.
Good returns.
Call it the reflection of risk, call it the reflection of demand and supply, call it the reflection of any other strategic factors of the market. But the return has been fantastic from the property industry over the last many years. But now it is getting more mature because more supply has come in the market, more options have come in the market. People's mentality have changed. Now the end users would like to live more in the townhouses and villas than the apartments. So the rents has improved the inflation situation very well. Expo, I would like to invite all of you to please take time, if possible, and visit this global exposition at the most impressive level. I've been there, and I've personally witnessed that. It is great showcase of the whole world in terms of not only their products but also their culture. Very beautifully done, well controlled, very peaceful, very secure. UAE, the Purchasing Management Index is showing growth over the last 1 year. I will keep it short, but let's have a look. Oil prices have gone up. Production, and one of the reasons for the production has gone down because of the COVID situation, as the demands globally was declined. But now, through the cut in production and the increase in demand, the oil price has gone up. So that's something about the economic setting of UAE. Let's talk about our final discussion, and that is the UAE real estate market. Mr. Irhami, any questions, comments, advice so far? Are you happy? Are we doing good or not? I've lost Mr. Irhami. Mr. Arif, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, beautiful. Are we going okay?
Yeah, superb.
Is this what you expected in terms of information and analysis, or is there something else I should cover?
No, you can continue, and it's a third session now, which is the real estate market, which is what we want to hear. I think a lot of viewers would like to hear too.
Beautiful. Let me start that with the good news. You all are into the real estate market, and this is one of the best markets in the world. Most interesting, most dynamic, most diversified. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of gaining in terms of financial and strategic gain. It's a beautiful market. It is so 360 degrees, whereby we come across a number of services, subsectors in this industry, beautiful. Learning about agencies, learning about real estate broker agencies, learning about valuations, property management, facilities management, financing, investing. It's beautiful to be in this market, and of course, whoever does it well with the full heart makes a lot of money too. So that's the happy news, in my opinion. I'm very happy to be associated with this market too. Okay, the contribution of real estate. There are, after oil and gas in the UAE and also to other GCC countries, one of the major contributions coming from other sectors is real estate, financial services, and others. So these are the major sectors after oil and gas, and of course retail sectors and trade and tourism. So real estate indeed contributes to about 40% of the non-oil based contribution to the economy of the region. Last 2 years, the real estate transactions were majorly impacted in Dubai and also the other parts of the country, and I believe also in the region by COVID. So when you cannot go out, you cannot purchase. Definitely a big impact. So you see between 19 and 20, in Dubai alone, the number of real estate transactions went down from 55,000 to 51,000. So it's about 7% decrease already. And in terms of value, even more if you see the number on the top here. So yes, that has been an impact. But the great news is comes 2021, and now we see better growth. I think we're coming back to the pre-COVID levels of 2017 in 2021, last 2 quarters. So real estate transactions have rebounded in the city, in the country, in the region. As you can also see, this is the chart from 2007 to 2021, and you see some volatility in the market through the crises and COVID. But now if you concentrate on the right hand side, in 2021, you see a serious increase once again in Dubai, and we are very happy with it. Where are these transactions happening? As you see, the largest segment of such transactions are land, villa, and townhouses, and less towards the buildings. Interesting, because people now realize that it's important to have a piece of land in your living conditions, and so you can sit out more, and because COVID has taught us not to be together. It's so unfortunate physically. It's so unfortunate, and I think the impact is there. And I hope it does not continue like this. It continues in a balanced way, because living with the family at all times and friends is extremely important as well. A large part.
Just before you go there, that chart before had the demand is more on the, we call it here, landed villa, landed property. Is that right?
Correct.
I see.
Correct.
Okay.
Actually, what happened was that let me give you some perspective. From 2016, for some ununderstandable reasons, mostly demand and supply, I guess, the increase in supply, and the foreign exchange regulations around the world. 2016, I saw the UAE market declining till 2020. The last 2 years, of course, the last 1 year was because of COVID, but before, for other reasons, as I mentioned earlier. So we have been watching a declining market for a long time. But the prices have come to such an interesting level about a year ago, really such an interesting level, that it was a no-brainer for end user. And on the other hand, the banking loan provision was so economical and enchanting.
Yes.
It was a no-brainer for end user with a long-term perspective to take a loan and buy the property.
Yeah, the cost of borrowing actually has gone historically low. Is that
Correct.
right too? Yeah.
Correct. We're talking about roughly 3.5 to 4% mortgage loan. Can you imagine that? I mean, and it's very close to the cost for the banks too.
I know it's
So
there's no margin to the bank.
right. So in this region, about a year ago was the ideal time to purchase properties, both for investors and end users. And a lot of smart people bought the property here, literally at somewhere around an average of 600 dirhams per square foot, which is less than maybe around $175 US dollars, if my math is correct, per square foot, which is very attractive price. Over the last 1 year, it's important to note, over the last 1 year, the market has gone down in the Middle East, mostly in Saudi Arabia and in the UAE, especially in Dubai. The market has gone down by 30%, gone up by 30%. Up by 30%.
Yeah, you can see
in a year. So can you imagine if you are a smart investor, timing wise?
Yeah, at the bottom of it. Yeah.
You can make a lot of money, and it has been a beautiful year for us. The valuation mandates have also increased in the meanwhile. Okay, I'm trying to be. So there has been more focus on the residential segment than the commercial segment. So 63-36%. What's happening to Abu Dhabi residential prices? You saw from 15. I was telling you this, from 15 to 21 to 20. The market has been on a decline, serious decline. And we have now a sigh of relief whereby we see increase coming up over the last 1 year. Similar situation also in the residential markets, sale prices in Dubai. And now again, more than about 30%. In fact, there are some areas which are high in demand have gone even up by 50%.
Correct. Yeah.
So very good. Now, this is a kind of monthly picture as to what is happening in the apartment segment in Dubai, and you see that over the last 10 years, and you see that some waves up and down, and finally it is going up again. Yeah. In the last 6 months, Dubai apartments has gone only 1% up. This looks a little bit conservative to me, these numbers. But again, because the villas, as you see, 6 months is 12% up. So people are their mentality, their preferences are shifting from apartments to villas. Okay. A snapshot of the new real estate projects, quite a few, many hundreds, and quite a number, but 850 projects were actually completed in 2020, which is huge focus from the developers. And there are quite a number of high quality developers in this country, like Emaar, the flagship developer.
Emaar is probably the biggest one, isn't it?
Yes, it's the biggest one. And very high quality product that they come up with the market, and they have done most of the developments around the city for sure. The biggest one from Abu Dhabi is Al Dar. Again, one of the finest developers that I've seen, and between both of them, they have developed, I think, quite a lot of properties around the country. And there are also some other good names like Nakhil, Dubai Properties, Damak, and a few more second layer developers too, but quite a number of them now. Dubai has the ability and capability to complete things, even in dire situations like COVID, and you see that most of the projects completed, which are large in number, in thousands, are done towards the residential sector, but also on the commercial. There is a continuous delivery of projects across the years, of course with some lows and highs, but a serious delivery happening. And some people don't like it because they say there's a huge supply coming up or has come up in the market, which has impacted the prices too. And it's partly true. But I think the supply is pretty much aligned with the vision of the country in terms of growth. So these are the references. Now I'm wow, 1201.
Spot on.
Spot on. I cannot do better than this. Look, I've not yet covered this time very much in detail the sale prices per country of different property types and their trends over the last periods. I've not covered the rental. I've not covered the rental and yield.
Yeah, we can do that in another session.
Right.
Mr. Moti.
Right. And I've not covered the major projects yet. The idea was that to give the participants a comprehensive macro overview of the countries, the economies, the major trades and businesses, and some level 1 and level 2 details about what is the real estate market all about. And then in the next series we can go deeper and analyze those trends a bit more deeply. Just to let you know that UAE is one of the first countries which allowed freehold properties. So anybody can buy in the UAE the properties. In Dubai, for example, about 50% or more of the properties are now freehold. So anybody can buy from anywhere. So welcome and have a look at the projects. Decision is of course yours, but it's an interesting properties to look into. I'm not suggesting or recommending it, but I am inviting because I like the properties here.
So there is no restriction on anyone, on foreigners. For example, in purchasing the property. I know is quite common in Europe, but not so common in Asia, where over this side of the world there is some kind of restrictions on foreigners buying certain kind of properties.
Yeah.
Is there
Well,
any in GCC?
There are no restrictions in the UAE about buying properties here at all. However, there are some areas which are earmarked only for local citizens where you cannot buy. But a larger part of the city, Dubai, you can buy, no issue at all. And there are many, many projects of all natures. In Abu Dhabi, there is also a large part of communities where you can buy freehold. In Sharjah, some. In Ajman, almost the whole of Ajman is freehold, so you can buy it there too. Ras Al Khaimah and Al Quwain, relatively less. I think I know only few freehold projects in Al Quwain, and perhaps I don't know much about Ras Al Khaimah from the freehold perspective, maybe one or two. But Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Ajman are the most open Emirates from the freehold perspective. Saudi Arabia has certain communities where anybody can come and buy property. Saudi Arabia has opened up a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
Are happening there. They have just announced citizenship to certain category of people, individuals. Recently, they're opening up freehold big way and tourism big way too. Yes. Oman, there is a project called The Waves and few more, which are freehold, and you can buy them in Muscat, no problem at all. Bahrain, there are quite a number of projects. One of them I remember and like the most is Amwaj, but there are a number of more which are freehold. I think quite many projects in Bahrain that you can buy. Qatar, there are beautiful projects that you can buy as a freehold. And my favorite one there is the Pearl, which is like Marina in Dubai or in KL or in Chicago, and you can buy. So there are quite a number of projects, yes, and there are no restrictions. And one more thing, we as investors, we all worry about the legal protection of our investments in countries like this. Whether is my property safe? Is somebody gonna take it away from me or put a restriction? And today the Arab people are saying take it, but tomorrow the Arab people will say no, this is not your land, my land. Well, I'll be very honest with you. I'm invested in this market for the last 17 years now. The legal system is only strengthening.
I see.
The legal system is only strengthening, and there are international standards of rules and regulations about the legality of the documents, and not only that, but also about your rights to use the properties and not to disturb others, and many other things are absolutely a top class in the national standards level. So at least in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and the UAE, the freehold properties, I can say with confidence that there is no legal issue whatsoever, and you can do it with a peace of mind. I'm not trying to sell it, I'm not trying to recommend it, but that's the fact of life.
We have a question here. I'll post it in. It's about the application of technology.
Okay.
It says here, example, in the processes of purchase of a property. Could you brief us on that?
Okay. Now, the question has two directions. One is the UAE property management at the government level smart and technological enough? And the answer is yes. I think Dubai is one of the smartest cities in the world. Dubai Land Department has smart and artificially intelligent applications whereby each and every property is recorded. Just for your information, if you go to Dubai Land Department website, it's called Dubai Rest. Have a look at how smartly the information about all the services providers are registered there. The real estate transactions are transparently disclosed every month. They have a joint venture with a research and marketing company called Property Finder, whereby a lot of market research from their own data is coming out based on transactions. Each and every title deed of the property is mechanized in their system. If I'm the owner, I can go, I have a user ID and password. I go there and I see all the details about my property. All the details about, we are valuers, so we need to have information about property. So if I'm valuing a property, I go to Dubai Land Department website and find out whether this is a freehold or not freehold, is it residential or commercial. I have all the information about this. The data about sold transactions, all the real estate sold transactions is public. You can go and find out from their website called Muashir. Try Dubai Rest, try Muashir, and you can find out all information about the sold transactions publicly available. So yes, each and every property transaction is done through a smart system here. You don't really have to go to Dubai Land Department.
I see.
And now I just heard now that if you are buying a property from overseas, so you're sitting in Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Canada, you actually can do the power of attorneys also electronically and buying and selling. You don't even have to come here. That's what I've learned as well. So yes, very advanced, no issue.
This is very advanced.
Very advanced. And the private sector, the second direction of the question, is also pretty advanced. I mean, we have quite a number of applications for property management, property brokerage, CRMs available now everywhere. So, for example, us, Windmills Valuation Services, we had a choice to go to an international valuation application, right? Say things like Argus. And we decided to build our own application. So we have an application called Maxima, which does 90% of the valuation job automatically. All the communication, clients, management information, valuation automatically. So in my humble opinion, a pretty robust level of technology.
Yeah. Then the next question is from an outsider. I mean, a lot of people have not been there. The geopolitical situations, we've not seen it recently, maybe because of COVID. We are seeing the geopolitical situation in East Europe, especially in Poland, Belarus. What, from your experience, if it's Middle East, how much would it impact the property market if there is a geopolitical tensions, if you like?
Yeah. Now, the greatest thing about the Middle East is that these Arab brothers and sisters were spread from the same place. So we are talking about the same families with the names, same family names operating in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, in Qatar. Because coincidentally, I've lived in all
I see.
five GCC countries except Kuwait.
Wow.
And I see the same family names everywhere. And if I, based on my history, so it's a similar culture, same people, same families, same religion, everything have spread
Yeah.
out to 5 or 6 or 7 countries. Okay, on a personal level, we feel the safest in a place like Dubai and Abu Dhabi. We feel the safest. A young lady would walk at 3 o'clock in the morning, and nobody would touch the lady here, for sure. There is almost zero crime rate, and so on the personal life level, very, very safe, authenticated, guaranteed. On the geopolitical level, there have been some tensions between UAE and Saudi Arabia. UAE and Saudi Arabia at one hand, and Qatar on the other hand. We read them in the newspaper some years ago, but now it was only a bit more of a strategic difference of opinion than a war-like situation.
I see.
It also touched upon the economies a little for a short while, but now, according to my humble understanding, everything has been regularized and streamlined, and all the trades, as per my humble knowledge, has been streamlined and regulated. So no issue at all. I mean, even the travel between the 2 countries or 3 countries is now open, so no issue at all.
Maybe at the end of the day, it's like a storm in a teacup. It's family matters.
It happens. I think it happens everywhere. I mean, you pick up any region of the world, and you will see a certain level of different opinions and conflicts, which are soft in nature, and they die rather soon because it's only practical that way. I think it's a pretty coherent region, and that's the only way they should go forward, because if the kind of investment they are putting in this region, it can only be meaningful and result oriented if there is a harmony between the countries, and I see it happening.
Yeah. It's shown in the past. I mean, you're talking about, say, the past 20 years. It's quite harmonious in a way. It has been.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I think we do not have any more questions. Ladies and gentlemen out there, if you do have questions, or 1 or 2 questions, you can post it in the Facebook question box, and either you can address it to me or Mr. Moti. We will try to answer the questions the best we can. So, is there anything else you want to conclude, Mr. Moti?
Thank you, Mr. Irhami. Thank you, IQI, and special thank you to all the participants who have taken the time to join this. I hope you find it useful and informative. Questions are welcome now or later. I would like to request you all, we continuously update our LinkedIn page. I'm sorry. We continuously update our LinkedIn page with the regional market news, and especially the real estate news. So feel free and follow us, please. It's called the Windmills Valuation Services on LinkedIn. And our website is windmillsgroup.com. I repeat, windmillsgroup.com. Feel free, visit us, appreciate us, advise us. And and let's keep our connection going on. Till next time.
Okay, thank you very much. There you go from Mr. Bilal Moti of Windmills Valuation Services in Dubai. And by the way, congratulations on opening your new branch in Ajman.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll catch up again. We'll have another session on another interesting topic. So, ladies and gentlemen, from Mr. Bilal Moti and me, thank you very much. Stay safe and see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.